Well, the fact that we are even having this debate presupposes a few things. It presupposes that it's possible for intelligent and fair-minded individuals to disagree about the existence of God. It's quite clear that there are many people who do not believe in God, and I count myself among them. Equally clear, however, is that many of these non-believers are not resisting theism. Rather, some just find that the evidence for theism is poor. Or perhaps they find that after considering the total evidence, both for and against theism, that the evidence is ambiguous. It doesn't really point obviously in one way or the other. So there's no real clear winner. Still, others are just completely unaware of the very concept of God. And so there's plenty of genuine and rational non-belief in the world that is in no way the fault of the non-believers. All that is to say is that if God exists, He has not made His existence sufficiently clear to satisfy even those who very much wish He was real. And it is this fact about non-resistant non-believers which will serve as my first point of evidence, represented by H here. That there's plenty of non-belief in the world instantiated by doubt or disbelief or by ignorance of the necessary concepts. That is not, again, the fault of the non-believers. Premise 1. H is highly unlikely on the assumption that theism is true. On theism, we would expect that a perfectly loving God would want a meaningful, conscious relationship with the creatures whom He loved. And so for this reason, God would ensure that all such creatures, so long as they were not resistant to Him, believed that He existed. Why? Well, because only then would these persons then be in a position to freely respond to God and enter into a meaningful relationship with God. So on theism, the fact that there are unbelievers who are not resisting God in any way is very unlikely. Premise 2, H is highly likely if naturalism is true. If naturalism is true, of course, this is not at all surprising. Indeed, the poverty of theistic arguments is entirely expected on naturalism because God does not exist. Therefore, H strongly supports naturalism over theism. And very often, theists of the Christian persuasion will simply say, but Justin, there are no non-resistant unbelievers. They all resist God in their own righteousness. These persons are usually quick with a biblical verse to back up their point. However, this kind of arrogance of biblical proportions fails to be anything other than assuming the thing to be true that's actually being challenged, and therefore constitutes a textbook example of question begging. And to his credit, Randall Rauser takes a quite different and much more interesting approach to dealing with the hiddenness argument, and we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But for now, I'd like to move on to my second bit of evidence for naturalism against theism.